Hello and welcome to Glasgow Rangers Nation with me, your host, Owen James. Guys, a channel that brings you your team every day. You know what, I was going to try an alternative introduction today, but then I actually thought better of it that it might actually not be suitable. That was genuinely the case. I was going to do a bit of Hayley Welsh, but I decided not to bother. And that just sounds wrong as well about doing Hayley Welsh. Anyway, there we go. Let's move on. Let's talk about all things Rangers. Let's not talk Hayley Welsh or any of that hawk, whatever it was called again. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about where's Connor. Where's Connor? Where's he gone? He's disappeared. He's vanished. But where's Wally? We're going to have where's Connor instead. Latest on Jose Cifuentes and his proposed move to Aris Thessaloniki, as it looks like he's ready to go. Ready to go, as Republica once sang. I'm also going to look at the Gonçalo Borges possible transfer and, you know, the fact that he's another winger. What is the modus operandi behind that for Rangers as well? No Tav this afternoon or this evening. We're going to avoid Tav for this present moment, which some of you may well be relieved about. Okay, so let's start off with, where's Connor? Where's he gone? Where's Connor? Can anyone find Connor? I've now got my dog looking. No, go back to sleep. Where's Connor? Where's Connor gone? Where's Connor gone? So, look, now we know that Connor left Rangers game against Birmingham to go and talk to possibly West Bromwich Albion. That's what we think may have happened as this mystery deepens. I feel like Hercule Poirot. So then we know that he then boarded an aircraft because there is video of him at Glasgow Airport with several suitcases on one of those little trolley things, getting on board a plane. There's also video emerging of people trolling him on the plane, which was pretty pathetic, to be honest with you, as he flew out to Germany. Yes, that's right, Germany. He didn't fly to Cyprus, as was first thought. Now, lots of people thought that he was flying out to Cyprus to sign with Aris Limassol. Then there was rumours there was, in fact, flying to Saudi to meet up with Steven Gerrard and sign for El Ettifaq. But, again, not true. When some research was done, there was obviously it was confirmed there were no direct flights to Cyprus that day from Glasgow Airport, which I do find highly surprising, given it's the holiday season and Cyprus is obviously a top tourist destination. But apparently there was no flight, so we'll accept that. Now, apparently, Connor flew to Germany. That's where he flew, to Germany. Now, you know, he's not joining a Bundesliga club before anyone gets excited and thinks we're going to get an extra bit of money for him because he's going to the Bundesliga. No, he's not going to the Bundesliga. It was then revealed that from Germany, Connor then went on and transferred to Austria. No, he's not signing for Red Bull Salzburg or Casino Salzburg or Rapid Vienna or any of those Austrian clubs. He's, in fact, linking up with Aris Limassol, which straight away I think, well, Aris are not based in Austria, Owen. Why is he going to Austria? Well, apparently, Aris are currently in Austria on a pre-season camp. That's where they are. They've gone to Austria. So that's why he's headed to Austria, because apparently he's undergoing his medical at the Aris training camp in Austria, not in Cyprus. Then there was a story doing the rounds that he was going to play Sunday for Aris Limassol, which seems very weird considering that he's still under contract to Rangers, that another club would then play him in a pre-season friendly, given the fact they hadn't even signed him yet, which to me seemed utterly bizarre. I'm not quite sure how that one works from the aspect of kind of legal stuff, from the aspect of kind of insurances and things like that, how he can play for another team, even though he's contracted to another team. It just seems very weird. But apparently that's fine. But it now emerges that he didn't actually play for Aris Limassol today. It was decided that he wouldn't play today. Now, Derek Clark of Rangers Review reported on X earlier that this was the case, that he hadn't played today and he hadn't taken part in the game against Al Fayat. I think it was they were playing today in a pre-season friendly behind closed doors one, because Aris's last game obviously was 24th apparently, and the next game is not destined to be until later this week. Now, the reports that are coming out of that Austrian training camp from the Cypriot media is that Goldson will be unveiled as an Aris player at some point this coming week. So it looks like that deal could well go ahead this week. That would obviously relieve Rangers of that £37,000 a week fee that they have to pay for Connor Goldson. You know, he does cost them £37,000 a week. He is obviously the highest paid player at the club. I mean, obviously, if you take £37,000 a week off our wage budget, that's taking nearly £2 million back, freeing up some substantial amount of cash for Philippe Clement to strengthen his squad. You know, there's no word as yet on the fee. I'm sure once the fee is announced, it will be undisclosed, as it always is. But it does look like the Goldson era at Rangers is finally coming to the end, and we have solved the mystery of where is Connor. He's in Austria, apparently getting ready to sign for Aris Limassol, which does seem weird to be in Austria signing for a Cypriot team. I mean, let's face it, the whole situation is just a bit weird anyway, because I think, you know, if you'd kind of said at the start of the transfer window, Owen, tell me, if Goldson and Tavernier were to leave, where are they going to go? Well, you'd say Saudi, you know, you say Turkey, you may even say the English Championship. But you certainly wouldn't say Aris Limassol for Connor Goldson. Not a place you'd kind of think of. But apparently it will be completed this week, which is good news because obviously, like I said, it frees up money for Rangers. It frees up money to go and sign some more players. Now, there is obviously, you know, a lot of discussion, debate about players coming in, players going out. What's the situation? We've got to sell to buy. That's to clear the wage budget because we've got too many players on the squad. The squad's too big. The wage budget's too bloated. The wage budget is the highest in Scotland. It's actually more than PSV Eindhoven's, which is utterly ridiculous considering the calibre of players they've got. Sam Bakayoko, De Jong, Veerman, etc. And we've got Scott Wright and Kieran Dowell. But that's where we're at this moment in time. So the next story that's obviously come out of the whole situation is around Jose Cifuentes. Now, Jose Cifuentes headed out to Brazil on loan in January to go to Cruizero, as he was seen obviously to be surplus to requirements at the club. And, you know, it's very disappointing because obviously when he arrived at Rangers, he was told, he was, you know, cited by Michael Beale as the missing link. I think obviously not in the theory of evolution, guys, you know, not in the Darwinian theory of evolution. He's not the missing link in that aspect, just the missing link in Rangers midfield. He was this so-called box-to-box midfielder that was going to make all the difference, that was going to turn Rangers midfield into this revolutionary new midfield where, you know, that teams all over Europe and all over Scotland genuinely couldn't cope with us anymore because we had this player, Jose Cifuentes. But I think we can all say without a shadow of a doubt, he was very one-paced and he really did struggle with the physicality. And I think, you know, once the snow fell and it got a bit cold and it started to rain, he really didn't like Glasgow. I mean, nothing against Glasgow. Glasgow's a fantastic city. It's a brilliant city. I love Glasgow personally. But, you know, for a player that's coming from LA with the weather it has there and obviously originally from Ecuador, Glasgow is a little bit of a culture shock. And he never really settled in and he never really lived up to his potential, did he? And he was definitely not the missing link. So, look, he's gone. He went to Cruizero. He went on loan. And a lot of the talk was that he would go to Cruizero and that this would be his future destination, that once he'd done this loan spell with Cruizero, that he would then sign on a permanent basis with the Brazilian club. However, the Brazilian club, I think when he was backed by either by the original Ronaldo, the real one, the proper one, the talented one, the high-quality Ronaldo, not the cheap imitation Ronaldo, the whiny, whingy child one, or it may have even been Ronaldinho. The funding was then withdrawn from Cruizero, which then meant that they couldn't afford to buy Jose Cifuentes. Now, it emerges that Jose Cifuentes' contract with Cruizero has now been cancelled, so that he has returned to Glasgow. So the contract is cancelled. He's no longer a Cruizero player. He is free to move on. So because this contract has now been cancelled, it now emerges that he can now be sold to, well, he can go on loan with an obligation to buy to Aris Thessalonica. So the terms and conditions of Cifuentes' deal. Now, look, you've heard me praise Nils Koppen. You've heard me say, you know, that Nils Koppen is just fantastic. And I honestly, you know, genuinely, as I said on the podcast last night, believe that, you know, this is a guy who is building a club. He is building a transfer model. He is building a way for Rangers to raise a whole lot of cash to go on to really, you know, develop themselves to be like an Ajax, like a Feyenoord, like a PSV Eindhoven, like an FC Porto, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, to compete on a European level because of the amount of funds we generate by flipping players and selling them on. You know, Koppen's got a very modern 21st century approach to selling players. really moving Rangers into the 21st century from living in the 20th century, where we sell players on, we put them on loan with obligations to buy, not just here, have our player and then send him back to us because you don't want him anymore. Like Alex Lowry, for example. And into those contracts, he's putting increments, performance bonuses. He's putting obviously sell-on fees, all designed to get the most possible money for Rangers, which is fantastic. Now, the 25-year-old Mr. Cifuentes, who is heading off here to Aris Thessalonica. Now, according to the reports that have been reported, not only in Scotland, but also in Greece, that Koppen has pulled off an absolute masterstroke by sorting out a £4.2 million obligation to buy for Jose Cifuentes. Now, if you consider that when we signed Jose Cifuentes, he cost us 1.5 million. If we waited till December, we could have had him for free, but we decided we needed him because he was the missing link. So we signed him and we paid 1.5 million for him. But this obligation to buy for 4.2 million has left a lot of fans going, what the bloody hell did he do to Aris Thessaloniki? Did he put a gun to their heads? Did he, show them video of, Brian Laudrup, or video of Alfredo Morelos, or video of Paul Gascoigne, and say, that's Jose Cifuentes? Although I think the Laudrup and Gazan one might have been slightly harder to kind of convince them that it was him. Or maybe he showed a footage of Ronaldinho and said, this is actually Cifuentes. But you know what? I did read one really funny comment on my live last night, which was someone stating that Aris would be much better. Not Aris. Yeah, it is Aris. Aris Thessaloniki would be much better taking that 4.2 million, investing in a scouting department rather than paying it for Cifuentes, which is pretty accurate considering how bad he's been. But apparently, this is an actual deal. This is an actual, genuine deal that we've done. That that Koppen's managed to get 4.2 million pounds in the long run for Jose Cifuentes, so that that money next summer will arrive and it will be help us to obviously buy further players next summer. But 4.2 million pounds, not only has he cleared him off the wage budget and sent him out on loan again, he's also got this guarantee to buy for 4.2 million. And I genuinely, I don't think it's Philippe Clement who's got the magic stick. I think Nils Koppen's borrowed the magic stick from Philippe Clement, or he's cast some sort of, spell. Look around, look into my eyes, look around the eyes, look into my eyes, into the Aris Thessaloniki ownership to get 4.2 million out of them for a player like Jose Cifuentes. So, got to say, guys, it's a phenomenal deal. It's a phenomenal deal, and certainly a very positive one for Rangers. It's a very positive one for the club. Okay, so let's move it along a little bit. So now, FC Porto player called Gonçalo Borges. Apparently, Rangers and Strasbourg of Ligue 1 have had a offer for which was tabled for Borges, rejected by the Portuguese Giants. FC Porto, obviously the team where Fabio Silva came from. We all know how that ended up. Borges is currently in the pecking order, second behind Portuguese international Fabio Conceição. Fabio Conceição, though, has been a subject of a number of bids and a number of interests from other teams all over Europe, including Chelsea, who are a bit of a disaster at the moment. Now, if Conceição was to leave, apparently Borges would be the natural replacement and would naturally move up the pecking order at FC Porto. Reports coming out of Porto indicate that Borges is keen to stay at Porto because he sees his path to the first team starting to open up with the likely departure of Conceição. However, if Conceição was not to depart, then there is a real possibility that Borges could move on for first team football. Now, given the fact that Rangers obviously have already bought Oscar Cortez and have bought Václav Černý on loan for a season, it seems surprising that they're chasing more wingers. But it seems that there is a real desire in the club to kind of get a strength in depth, get a real, core of quality players. And I think, if we look back at some of those preseason friendlies where we've rotated, there really hasn't been a solid strength in depth there. And going for, two players for every position is a very sensible thing to do, and I know that many of you may say, well, there's more pressing positions that need to be addressed at this moment, right back, centre forward. There is, but there is still a need. I think when a player arrives or a player arises that you can get hold of who would address one of your needs, whether this is that for this window or the future, you've kind of got to go with it and kind of look to do it. Now, What do we know about this guy? He's called Gonçalo Oscar Albuquerque Borges. He's 23 years old, another young and up-and-coming player, slightly over 6 foot, from Lisbon in Portugal. He's an attacking right winger. He's a right-footed right winger. Very unusual that he plays on the right side, and he is actually right-footed, given the sort of inverted wingers that people often play these days. He's under contract until 2027 with Porto, so still has 3 years left on his deal. According to Transfer Market, his value is around £3 million, although it's thought that Porto would want in excess of that for the player. He's a player who can play right wing, he can play left wing, he can play right midfield, he can play left midfield. The majority of his time has been spent as a right winger or a left winger, as you can see from those statistics. The majority of his playing career with Porto, and it has just been with Porto, he has played on the right-hand side for them. He's a very quick, tricky winger, very much in that Portuguese mold of players who like to attack and get at people. 58 appearances, 8 goals, 5 assists. So 13 goal contributions in 58 for Porto. For Porto's as a right winger. Sorry, that's in his right wing position. In the left wing position, Borges has played 25 games, 3 goals, 2 assists, so 5 goal contributions in 25. Now, the majority of his football, as you can see from those stats, has come for Porto's B team, although he has still made 50 appearances for their first team. A lot of those have come as a sub, though, not as a starter, hence the very poor numbers there, just 3 assists, no goals, 11 goals and some... what we got there, 8 assists and 19 goal contributions in 78 for Porto's B team. Very much a young up-and-coming talent, very much again and the player that fits this transfer model that we're trying to get in place, where you buy young players, you develop them, you take them on, you then sell them for a bigger fee, which is very much where Borges comes in. Porto, like I said, have rejected. Doing a bit of research, doing a bit of reading into this, looking at a few Porto things that reports that have come out of Porto. I don't really see this as a possibility. I think this is, if it's true that we did bid for it, great, fantastic news. He's a good player. He's a very talented player, a very talented up and coming player. But I don't see any legs in this one. I don't really see this one going. I think Porto want to hang on to him. I think the fee and the wages would be sort of prohibitive to Rangers as well. But it's good that we're showing some ambition, that we're looking at these clubs, in some of these other leagues around Europe, not obviously the top 5 leagues where you've got a lot of money has to be spent to get players, but the likes of the Portuguese league, where you're looking at players and hoping that you can bring these players in for relatively reasonable fees. So it's a promising one. It's definitely a promising one. Well, guys, look, that's what we covered this morning. Where's Connor, Jose Cifuentes, and Gonçalo Borges? Let me know what you think of the stories we've covered. Obviously, drop me a comment. Love reading your comments. And if you can help the channel to grow by smashing the sub, that would be phenomenal. Our views and everything have been absolutely fabulous over the last few days. And on the way out, if you could do me 2 favors. Number 1, smash that like. It helps beat that evil algorithm. And number 2, as always, please remember, we are the people.